If you are fighting with loneliness, you don't just need to run into a relationship to solve it.
In order to make the most authentic human connections, you need to be aware of your weaknesses as well as your strengths.
If you leave your father's house, who's going to take care of you? Me. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about loneliness, hyper-independence and grown womanhood.
Interesting.
Being the modern woman.
Okay.
All sorts of exciting stuff today. But before we get into that, we've got a bit of housekeeping that we need to do. The first is announcing the winner of May's Vision Challenge. Yes. Thank you, sisters, for all of your entries. We've loved seeing all of you guys with your solo dates and taking yourselves out. It has been wonderful to see. But we've unfortunately had to pick just one sister who would be the winner. And the winning sister for this month is beautiful_.stain on Instagram. Congratulations, girl. We will be messaging you shortly with some details on how we will be sharing with you your £100 gift prize. So congratulations and well done you for investing in yourself this month. We love to see it. Took yourself on a really nice little cheeky coffee day experience. Beautiful to see. And sisters, not to worry if you felt like you missed out on getting in on that challenge or getting in on that prize. There are still 7 months left for you to prove yourself and win £100 for investing in yourself. And without further ado, the next challenge for June this month, you will have a month to do it, is to the sister who completed 3 random acts of kindness this month. So as a sisterhood, as a community, we're all about ensuring that we are kind, we are good people, and we are investing in other people. And sometimes it can be super easy to be kind to people that you know or people that you're familiar with. So we'd like for you to actively go out of your way to complete 3 random acts of kindness, preferably to people that you're not as close to, just so that you can spread the love in and all of that good stuff. And as per usual, the rules are the same. Make sure that you post the evidence of these random acts of kindness, preferably after the act. Don't be making people feel awkward. We see y'all up in the socials doing all sorts of acts of kindness just for the social media buzz. So preferably after, just let us know what you've done. Post it on TikTok, post it on Twitter, or post it on Instagram with the hashtag Vision22 and at us on social media so that we can see those wonderful acts of kindness. It can literally be anything. It could be buying somebody a coffee. It could be taking someone out. It could be anything you like, any random act of kindness times 3. Exciting scenes. Now, moving on from housekeeping into the ding dilemma. I really like this dilemma because it's a lot more, I think it's very in tune and in line with the actual episode itself. But let's get into it. Hi sisters.
Hello.
I've been really enjoying the podcast lately about self-love and development. I think the points made on accountability and self-awareness are very crucial, and I'm glad you guys always shine a light on it. I have a bit of a question though. How do I tell the difference sometimes between being self-aware and not making excuses for destructive behavior versus being overly self-critical? I think sometimes I blur the lines and blame myself for every situation in the guise of calling this self-awareness. How does one incorporate being teachable but not tearing themselves apart internally at the same time with love?
Very good question. And I think as somebody who can often fall into the more extreme end of being self-critical and all of that, I think it's important to remember that self-awareness always leads to a hopeful change. So it's you're hopeful that, okay, it's come to my attention that XYZ, I do XYZ, or I've done something that I'm not happy about, or I'm not performing to the level I want to, whatever your self-awareness has revealed to you. Once you've come to that revelation, there should be some kind of productive commitment to a change, right? And that change should make you feel hopeful. It should make you feel like, oh, okay, so I just need to change XYZ or go on this journey or speak to this person or do whatever. Once I've done that though, I've grown. I think you've fallen into that negative side of things where you're being self-critical when your conclusions the conclusions of your self-awareness is just I'm a bad person, or I've done XYZ and I'm unable to change, or I shouldn't have done that. Now what? There needs to be a degree of progress, and rather than a feeling of condemnation and a feeling of, well, this is it then, this is what I've done and this means negative, that's it. I think it's important to realize that self-awareness is just a tool you use to make progress. It is not about a final judgment, and it's not about kind of taking this snapshot of your life right now, and that action that you did, or that occurrence that happened, and making that the summary of all that you are. It's just a snapshot. It's literally just a clip of your performance in a particular circumstance. And now that you've evaluated that didn't go so well, it's time to take it another step further and actually do what is well, what is good. Once you kind of dedicate yourself to that response of, I'm going to constantly give myself a chance. If something comes up, I'm going to give myself the opportunity to change. Self-awareness becomes less about, like I said, judgment, condemnation, feelings of kind of totality and end, but rather opportunities and windows for change. That's a hopeful thing. And I think that's when you realize, okay, cool, I'm not blurring the lines here. I'm not weighing towards the other end of the spectrum of self-awareness and self-critique. I'm actually being productive in my evaluation of myself. As soon as your evaluation of yourself is no longer constructive or productive, it becomes self-deprecating. Nobody wants that. Yeah,
Nobody
that's
wants
what I'd
that.
say.
I really like that. No, I really like that. And I love the fact that you were basically touching on the importance of intentionality in a lot of our like reflective and like evaluative reflections, right? Like, to what end am I doing this for? And I think sometimes, especially as women, we can get into this mindset of, because I criticize myself so heavily, that's self-awareness. And even though it is a form of self-awareness insofar as you are aware of some of the traits that you may not like, or you're aware of some of the behaviors that you're currently perpetrating that you don't like, if the intention is to destroy and the intention isn't to actually be productive and to build and become a better person, then there's actually no point in that self-awareness. So it's kind of like moving that self-awareness with like intent, which I really, really like. And I think that sometimes the self-awareness, like when we are critiquing ourselves, it's important that we approach ourselves as we would approach other people, right? So when we think about giving feedback to other people, or when we think about like, sharing things with other people, we can be a lot more, we can allow other people a lot more grace, and we think about like their positives as well as their negatives. I don't know if you've come across, they call it like a crap sandwich when you're giving feedback, where it's like you try and layer it with something positive in order to deliver the blow. And I think sometimes we can overestimate our capacity to just take the crap in the sandwich without the rest of the sandwich. And I think it's important for us to be like kind to ourselves, even when we are being self-aware or we are being self-critical. Like, there's a way to be critical but be kind. And I think prioritizing that kindness to self is really important. I think it's something that we touched upon in quite a few of our last few episodes actually, where like the way you speak to yourself, the way you talk to yourself, the intentions behind it is really important. So yeah, I basically, in a nutshell, I agree. In a roundabout way, I agree. And sometimes it will actually take time to like learn how to speak to yourself kindly as well.
It does take time,
because it's not even like, it's not the same way that you would be kind to other people, but then it's a new language that you're speaking to yourself as well. So I think it's really taking the time to understand, what are my intentions with my self-awareness? How do I communicate that to myself? And how do I ensure that I'm doing this in a productive way that doesn't actually like, it's not self-deprecating. It's something that actually builds me up.
Very good.
But sending you lots of love and light, sis. Hopefully that, over time it will be something that you develop and get more into the habit of being kind and being nice to yourself, whilst also being intentional. Exactly.
It takes practice.
Exactly. But yeah, moving swiftly on into the topic of today's conversation. Loneliness, hyper independence, being the modern woman. So this episode came to me very interestingly as a result of like conversations in general I've been having with different people, particularly women. And I know we've engaged with the whole idea of like the boss babe and all of that kind of stuff. And one thing that I noticed when we're talking about things like boss babe, and especially in hyper independence and the modern woman, is we often talk about it in the lens of like romantic relationships. And we don't always talk about some of the other implications of being somebody that's hyper independent, particularly as women, and what that means for like relationships outside of the romantic. So our friendships and our family and the professional. I guess the first question I have for you is, have you ever experienced like bouts of being hyper independent or needing to be very, very independent? And what would you say were some of the impacts that it had on you?
Yeah, like I think I like to think I'm a very independent person. And I have been for a long time. I think depending on how you grew up, your personal circumstances, you don't necessarily make a choice to become hyper dependent or to even be to become hyper dependent. I think you can make a choice to be independent. Okay, I'm gonna, take it on myself to create the life that I want, and I'm gonna do my best to do whatever's in my power, and so kind of restrict the other factors of other people and depending on other people. But I think you make that transition into being hyper independent when it becomes difficult now to accept help, or it becomes your independence becomes such a part of your identity, and it's no longer just a coping mechanism or something in response to something, but it becomes who you are. And I also think it happens when, not that you become used to doing things on your own, but like you just don't think to ask for help. So I think it's easy to just slip into becoming hyper independent. And I think the way it can affect relationships, I think there is a positive to it in the sense that like you often can then enter into relationships, friendships and stuff like that just for presence rather than things and like help and stuff like that. And I think sometimes people can struggle in that element of things, like I'm with someone or I know somebody because of what I can get from them rather than the fact that I really enjoy this person. So I think that's one element of it. When you're very independent, it becomes easier to pick people to be around you based on your love for them and what they, I guess, their essence rather than what they bring to the table per se. However, I think it becomes it can be negative when there's no degree of like reciprocation, because I don't ask you for much, don't ask me for much kind of thing. Also, I think people want to be let into your problems and be let into your life because it builds intimacy. So when you don't give people opportunities to do things for you or help you with things or give you advice or serve you in some way, it can be hard to build intimacy with that person because you don't have opportunities to create memories or experiences or a history that is outside of just like lunch, brunch, dinner, and like seeing each other at parties and occasions. Do you go? I mean, there's no level of. I feel like it creates depth when you allow people to serve you and you also allow yourself to serve other people. But when you are hyper independent, you don't really create those opportunities for people. And so I would say those are the ways that like it can impact relationships. I think I don't really know if it's impacted relationships for me. I don't know. Maybe that's just an element of self-awareness that I haven't really like reached. Unlocked. Yeah. But I personally don't think it has, just because I think there's a way to program your mindset to balance the two things I was just talking about, which is I can be there for myself, but also I can allow other people to be there for me. And I think that's a journey you go on, learning to ask for help, learning to be comfortable receiving people's help and receiving people's assistance in whatever way that could be. Advice, it could be acts of service, it could be buying stuff, it could, whatever it might be. When you allow people in that way, it doesn't take away from your independence, it doesn't take away from your capacity to actually take care of yourself and be fine all by yourself. It just means that you allow people that entry point into building intimacy with you. And I think I would like to think I balance those two kind of well, which is you allow people to serve you, you serve other people, but if people don't show up to serve you, it's calm. Yeah. You're all right. Yeah. I prefer hyper independence over hyper dependence personally.
Oh, child. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't
personally, that the truth? But how about you? Same question. Yeah. Right back at you.
Yeah, right back at me. Ooh, tennis. Serve.
What?
Serve, get it right back at you. Serena Williams. Serve.
Okay.
She's like, I'm gonna let that slide. No, I need to stop. I actually need to stop. I'm on a roll. You know when you're on a roll with a very bad joke and it's like
alright.
it's causing more confusion than it is clarity.
No, I get the reference, like, because tennis, but serve is the first person.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a technical error on my part. Sorry, reel it back in. Camera. Okay. I think similarly, I don't think hyper independence impacts many of my relationships now, but it definitely impacted quite a few of my relationships earlier on, purely because I was definitely the kind of person that found it difficult to ask for help. So I think that one of the ways that it impacts people as well as impacted me was it becomes very difficult to reach out to people. And as you said, give people opportunities to serve you, even when you're floundering and like literally drowning. So for me, like when you grow up in like circumstances whereby you're already, if you've gone through, for example, what's the word? Parentification, or if there are certain times in your life where you've had to like step up in a position of authority long before you're appropriately supposed to, it can be very difficult trusting other people, and it can be very difficult to allow people to serve you because already in your mind you've created this impression that people are always going to fail you. And that becomes toxic because it means that all of the dependency and the capacity to have expectations for other people becomes redirected towards you and builds up as this like internal pressure that you mount upon yourself. So it's just yourself and I that is literally trying to fulfill what should be fulfilled by multiple different types of people. So I think it can be really toxic in terms of like facilitating that internal pressure, becoming like, for me when I was like growing up, I was definitely perfectionist. Definitely I need to get to the top of the top. I need to be perfect. I need to make sure that everything for me is good because it feels as though I can't rely on the people around me. And unlearning that is really, really hard. Like it's hard to like learn the correct level of dependence or codependence on somebody else with somebody else when you haven't seen a healthy model of it before. It's either, I think many of us kind of develop hyper independence in response to hyper dependence.
Okay, from other people.
Precisely. So if we have seen lots of people fail as a result of being hyper dependent on somebody else, hyper independence can arise. Or there can be other conditions, whether it be material conditions or intangible experiences that contribute to that sense of I can only depend on myself because I've been failed. And I think that was definitely the case for me. And it definitely like impacted lots of my, even like when I think of like my relationship with you, most of the strides that we have made have come as a result of me finally deciding, actually, I need help. And like, actually, I need you to serve me in this particular area. And that was really hard, especially another thing I would say for me was this painting of vulnerability as weakness. So I can't show myself, I can't show knowledge of myself because that then displays that I'm weak. And I think this whole idea of weakness as being disempowering rather than empowering and allowing people to help you is something that plagued me for a really, really long time.
I hear that. I think that's spot on. This has nothing to do with what you just, well, it has everything to do with what you just said, but I feel like in response to that, because I was going to say I kind of disagree though, but it's not with what you said, it's with an element, which is that I think obviously in the canon of vulnerability content, it's very much so we have a discomfort with the fact that, or rather we need to, within the literature that surrounds vulnerability, there is a lot about like vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. But I think vulnerability is weakness. And I think we actually need to allow ourselves to be weak, like in certain elements. And I think our decision to be like, no, vulnerability is a strength, it takes away from the core essence of what vulnerability is, which is a confession that I have a weak spot. Do you get what I mean? Or I have a place where something that is tender, something that is sensitive, whatever it is. And it's like, that is a weakness. And I think we should afford ourselves, I guess in the same spirit of like not wanting to be superwomen and not putting this pressure of being a superwoman on us. I think we should allow ourselves as women, as Black women, as eldest daughters, as whatever, to be like, I'm weak in this area. Like, and that's actually okay, because it gives me an opportunity to rely on somebody else. It gives me an opportunity to realize that I am human, right? It gives me the opportunity to also say, I need faith, I need God. It gives me the opportunity to just be like, I haven't got my ish figured out. And like, as soon as we accept that vulnerability is weakness, I also think it does give responsibility to those who we are vulnerable with. And it's something that I'm writing about, like in the book, like it gives opportunity for other people to be there for us, right? And I think vulnerability can often be one-sided in the sense that it's a display of our strength, you know. Oh, she was so strong, she was able to be vulnerable and transparent. And it's like, yeah, that's an element of it.
Oh, she was so strong. Oh, that was so strong.
Yeah, do you get what I mean? That was so
Hard.
strong.
Yeah.
Wow, how strong of a person you are.
Yeah.
It's like, but I've just confessed to you, I have a weakness. What? Do you get what I mean? It's like, actually a huge part of the vulnerability narrative also needs to be the response of those we are vulnerable with to then be a pillar for us, or to then be some kind of anchor or strength for us. And I think we don't know how to handle that element of it well. And like in self-development content, and I guess like the dilemma is saying, you know, you're self-aware enough to be like, okay, I need to be vulnerable, and you do all this work on yourself. But then there's also the relational aspect of it, which is the vulnerability that is leaving your mouth, the truth that is leaving your mouth is going somewhere. And that person who receives that now has a responsibility to respond in some way, right? The response isn't always positive. However, in our relationships, in our friendships, in our sisterhood, we actually need to cultivate being good responders to vulnerability and allowing people to actually be weak, and allowing people to not guising it as, oh, it's so strong of you and stuff. Like, nah.
That was straight ass weak.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, it's like,
yeah,
I'm actually very like, I'm quite weak in this space. I'm quite sensitive. Some of us become very uncomfortable with embracing that we can be those things. We can be soft. We can be tender. We can be fragile, you know? And it's like, we don't want to embrace that because vulnerability is strength. And it's like, put the strength to the side. We get it. We get it. You're strong. We get it.
Yeah.
But embrace the fact that you can also be weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, when you said tender, I was thinking of chicken tenders.
I'm screaming. Tender. I don't know why they're called that. Because it's definitely like chicken breast, no?
That might be slightly problematic.
Breasts be tender.
They are.
They do be tender.
Yeah. Not us, just the sexualization of the chicken breast.
Chicken
in this
being
episode,
seductive. My God.
Little chicken, you.
Little spirit of Jezebel.
I know you guys are not going to KFC the same way. Wow, transform. Be
Not
gone,
deliverance.
chicken tender.
Deliverance for the chicken pieces. But no, we got the leg, the thigh, the breast. It's the people that eat side breast that actually have a problem.
How can you eat side breast? Anyway,
What is that though? Side breast, like that's rib cage.
Yeah.
That's so many bones.
Nothing there.
So many bones. I feel like that's the piece of chicken for people who like to chew bones.
Yeah.
Side breast.
Because who goes to KFC and says, can you put some side breast?
I don't even know KFC gives side breast.
First.
I know like chicken and chip shops stuff, but that's pigeon anyway.
I was about to say, what you get in chicken and chip shop? That ain't no chicken.
The
It's
ones
chips.
that they have.
That chicken part.
Definitely potato. Can't vouch for the other thing.
It's not GMO, but it's not what it says it is either.
It might actually be genetically accurate, organic even, but it's just not chicken.
It's not the animal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a panorama episode.
That's actually a whole side episode. I'm telling you, we need to do our conspiracy theories like
I would love to do like a true crime or like conspiracy theory podcast.
Love it.
I would love to do that.
Her
legs were cut off. Her ears were cut off. Her head was cut off.
From a young age, we knew that Alan was different.
Find out on today's episode of Sisters in Crime.
Oh my God, that is a great. We're trademarking that. I know there's some people listening that are like, oh, that's a great podcast. It's taken. You can't have it. It's ours now. That's our franchise. That's where we're franchising it.
Sisters in Crime.
Wait, we could have a whole detective like show.
Oh, that's actually true.
I think we'd be great.
That would actually be good.
Imagine if we could I'm so sorry, this is such a tangent. But imagine if we could sit down with serial killers, like have them pull up a chair.
You could do that.
So, what made you think it was appropriate to kill this person's dog and their family?
Not the dog too.
Because that's often,
that's how it starts.
That's always how it starts, and then they're
That's how
like,
it
"What is it? The
starts.
trifecta?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, this is such a tangent. Coming back, don't worry. Stay tuned in future episodes for Sisters in Crime. Why does that sound like a Nollywood movie?
Sister, if we searched it now, I'm sure we'd find it.
Sisters in Crime.
I'm sure we'd find it.
Putting the police hat to one
the
side.
side.
I love what you were saying insofar as like challenging how we conceptualize vulnerability. Like even in that, the fact that sometimes the way that we deal with having to be weak is through processing it through this whole stereotype of being strong.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that that's something that you were touching on insofar as what you're writing right now around vulnerability in the book and transparency. And I guess I wanted to kind of like come back a bit to this whole idea and this stereotype of the modern woman being hyper independent.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because
every time you lead an episode, it's like I am a psychiatrist being interviewed.
I love it. I love it. It's all the meat and juice, and just it's bull just getting into the thick of it. You know, into the thick of it. Every time I come across content around being the modern woman, it's always in a disparaging tone, and there's always that lingering threat of, you know, being alone and just like depending on yourself and how this is bad for the woman. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Obviously, we're going to talk about loneliness in a bit and, you know, the reality of being alone and hyper independent. But in terms of how like lots of content and a lot of disparaging content towards modern women is around their alleged hyper independence.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So I think one, this is patriarchy. Like it's not, you can't put it in a fancy way. It is what it is. You already know.
Can't.
It's not a bad thing to be independent, right? To be an independent thinker, to be an independent worker, to have initiative, to be self-reliant, to be able to generate energy from within yourself, to be self-disciplined, like to be independent and all the things that come with it is not a negative thing. It becomes negative and it's painted as negative, and women become scapegoated because they are women, and they should be dependent. They should be submissive. They should be in every context, in every sphere, in everything that they should do, they should be reliant, right? And I think it's important to realize that that doesn't work in every context. Women don't get to thrive in every context being hyper dependent. Do you get what I mean? And being, oh my God, I need you to do X, Y, Z for me. Exactly. And it's like that kind of desire for women to be these damsel in distress in every context and in every situation and in every job and in every field is why there's a lot of like negative content and commentary around being the hyper independent woman who's going to end up alone because she won't, you know, let anybody into her life. And it's like, no, what you're probably seeing, and I'm not saying that those people don't exist and those stereotypes and those caricatures rather have not been painted for us to see, because I do think there's a valid point to it. However, I think the fear people have towards it is more so, as a woman you should be X, as a woman you should look like this, you should act like this, you should ask for this, and you should accept X, Y, Z to be pleasing and to be feminine and to be all of these things, when it's like, actually, no, you guys already know how I feel about feminine energy content. But I think it's important to realize that that doesn't necessarily work in every context. Like I'm thinking about work, like professional work. If you want to excel, you need to be independent. Do you get what I mean? Like, what? Let's be serious. However, when it comes to things like relationships, and not just romantic, platonic friendships with your girls, there is a level of dependence that you must sink into. Not even sink into, I would even say like just rise into and grow into, which allows you, like we were just saying, to build relationship and intimacy. Right. So I think people kind of see women's entry into the professional space and their dominance, success, excellence, whatever, in that space, in whatever sphere, whether it be business, tech, STEM, corporate, or even like creative, whatever, all the spheres of work, you know what I'm saying. all the people see women succeeding in that sphere and they think, oh, women are becoming too independent. And it's like, no, they're just excelling in this one aspect. Do you get what I mean? And why would you enter into something not to be one of the best at it, or not to be good at it, and to continue being your best at it, right? But I think people can see that and they think that's not natural for women to do, right? I had a phone call with a guy the other day. It was very, very interesting. And he was just talking about how, like, let me not even get into it because it's very hard to relay and not sound stupid, because he was very wrong. Screaming. He was very loud and wrong. However, what I gathered from like his ramblings was this feeling like that it's not natural for women to be these go-getters and these independent beings and excelling in these, you know, secondary spheres and excelling everywhere but the household. Basically, it's not natural. It's something that women have forced themselves into, and it's uncomfortable for them. And I'm like, sir, you sound like you was born in 1605. Are you Henry VIII's friend?
Stop it.
Did y'all know him? Did y'all shoot hoops?
Screaming. You must have killed one of his wives.
You were holding the axe. Because what are you talking about? And I think it's important to add nuance to this, because it's like, yes, there could be some people who feel a pressure to be independent in every area of their life, right? And it could be as a response to trauma. It could be a mirroring of what they may be seeing and watching. However, there is actually a huge population of women and a huge percentage of women who are like, I flow through both. Depending on the space you put me in, that will determine how independent I am as a person, right? And I think people don't give us that room to have that fluidity. It's either you are independent, hyperdependent, dependent, hyperdependent. Which one do you fit into? And it's like all four. Everywhere. Do you get what I mean? And so when we allow ourselves to like change and adapt depending on the context, that's when we actually thrive. And so it's embracing all of those things, because I've never seen somebody be like to a guy, your problem is you're hyper independent. I've never seen it.
Or that you're hyper dependent.
Or hyper dependent. Do you know what I mean? There needs to be conversation. And I'm sure there are conversations that I had like that. But I think people cheer it on when it's men. They cheer it on like, oh my God, you're a go-getter. Oh my God, you've built this all on your own. Oh my God. Wow, Rex to Riches story. Oh my God, self-made. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And also like I mention it all the time, in a capitalistic world, like that whole self-made, self thing is that the self-driver, that is one of the hallmarks of a successful person. Do you get what I mean? And I think so in a society that champions to a degree independence, why is it that it's when women are independent there's a problem? And also subsets of women, right? Like when you think intersectionally, you look at people like black women and the stereotypes of the strong black women and stuff. When people decide to live up to that, or when not even they decide to live up to that, when people display that, right, it's often because the way society is structured forces that out of the pipeline. Do you get what I mean? And then when people decide to unsubscribe from that as well, they are also called horrible things like gold diggers or lazy or welfare queens. It's like,
what do you want?
What do you want from us, sir?
What do you
want? Do you want us to dance for you? What do you want?
Dance for your uncle.
Dance for your uncle. Like, no, it's very much so like, why can't we just live in peace? You know? And also, why can't we be treated as individuals? It's very easy when you create content and like have social commentary, create social commentary, like we can sometimes fall into it, right? Because you need to say something in that episode, you can create a generalization of everything because you can't engage with everybody individually, but I think it's important to constantly be mindful and to think critically around the fact that just because you heard it about some people doesn't make it relevant to all people. And it really is on an individual circumstance and individual basis. It's not just something you snap out of just because people sat on a podcast and said, don't be hyper independent. Do you get what I mean? It's like, no, my personal circumstance, maybe I need to go to therapy. Maybe I actually like it and I succeed and I thrive this way. But it comes down to personal decision, personal history. And I think the society that we live in right now hates the idea of women not fitting into this cookie cutter mold of what they want a woman to be. Sorry.
Hashtag
Not
not
sorry.
sorry. Not sorry. I love that.
Yeah.
What a moving and just it was
moving.
I was gonna say poignant.
Poignant.
It's poignant. Every time I heard poignant, I just thought of like you know those West End musicals,
Yeah.
like the reviews. It was poignant.
Poignant.
That's what they always say.
Yeah. They just be using big words for no reason.
All the time. But no, I absolutely love everything you have said. I love the fact that you even touched on like the broader structural forces insofar as like, look, capitalism, part of the reason why a lot of folks can't stand that women are becoming more independent is because structures like capitalism, a lot of them, when they manifest, they rely on exploitation.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that this model, this brand of capitalism, particularly in the West, relies on women being less independent.
Yeah.
We need somebody that's dependent on the independent class, which is men. And it's so frustrating because, as you said, there's so many different. I love the fact that you oh girl, it's like, can we dissect?
Let me dissect.
Oh my god, I'm getting flustered. Oh yeah, I'm getting flustered. Let's just dissect the different like aspects of dependency and existing on the different planes of dependency. You can be hyper independent in one sense of the word, in one sphere, and then dependent in another. In the same way, like we coexist in relationships where it's like we have codependencies in these relationships, but then in others less so. And it's just so unfortunate that, especially when it comes to women, womanhood is defined by how much we can depend on a man. And even thinking about the poor brother that was out here rambling, talking about feeling uncomfortable at women's independence, sometimes I just wonder, is that a cop-out for the fact that some of you as men have abdicated your so-called responsibility in this capitalist structure? You've abdicated. Do you know what I mean? It's uncomfortable because it feels as though you are being surpassed. But why is your response to denigrate rather than to raise the standard?
100%.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know, more women are getting educated and more women, like there's so much disparagement towards women that get educated or towards women that open businesses or women that decide that they want to get their affairs in order or get their finances in order. And it's just like, why don't you have these things? This is not even like a hallmarker of hyper independence. It's a hallmarker of self-sufficiency.
Yep.
And I think it's really important to have a distinction between the two, because a lot of women, many of them can be hyper independent because they've seen the Chala dropping the standard. How can I be dependent when you're not even self-sufficient? You cannot take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And now you're mad because I'm trying to take care of myself, because I've seen not only do you not have the capacity to take care of me, you barely have clothes on your back.
And the thing is, that man was talking to me in a singlet. No, literally, he had a vest on. As soon as that camera came on, I said, sir.
Yes.
Hey.
What color was it?
White.
I knew it.
100%. What other color? What is the other color of the brand? What is the brand colors? Let's think.
I knew it.
Brand colors.
I knew it.
The thing is, he was a lovely person. We were FaceTiming. He was lovely. Not to put your business out there, obviously.
My good sir. Sorry, Pelle.
Yeah, he you know, whatever. But it was very like concerning. I was concerned because I just think to myself, and it's not, let me even take it away from him as well. Like, I think it's important to realize that it's so easy to blame other people, but you got to remember, when you point one finger, three fingers point back at you.
Oh, honey.
And I think if you want to be, you can't force people down in order to feel like you're superior.
Yeah.
If you want to truly be superior, you have to rise up, right? You actually have to go up. And that could be based on standard, based on income, based on whatever. If I want to make more than you, I can't ask you to start making less. I need to go and make more. Do you get what I mean? And so I think it's important for people to realize you can't force women into a place of submission. You can't force women into a place of inferiority, because that's when you become abusive. And we've seen the results of centuries and centuries and centuries of abuse.
Exactly.
And so I think it's important for men, women, wider conversations, community organizations, like just when we're having comments about structures and stuff, I think it's important for people to realize what they're saying and what the implications of what they're saying is. And like you said, oftentimes it's, I need you to do less. I ain't trying to do more, but I need you to do. I need you to do a bit less. And sorry, cost of living is going up. Why should I do less? And his frustration was more so like, women are out here making loads of money and they don't even really have to work hard for it. And I'm thinking, so they're entrepreneurial and you're mad.
And the thing is, yeah, if they don't have to work that hard for it, why is there a lack thereof of the things that you claim they don't have to work hard for?
What do you mean?
As in, it's easy for women to make lots of money. So if the premise of making money is easy, my good sir, have you not jumped on the bandwagon?
But
did you miss the ship? That when they were docking, were you out?
But I kind of hear one element of what he's saying, which is because of the hypersexualization of women, the sexualization of women, right? We can make money more so from sex. Like we can dominate the sex industry than, however,
the primary consumer. The
money is coming from somebody else. How they get the money in the first place?
Baby, and the money, who's it coming from? Who's the primary
Exactly,
demographic?
that's what I'm saying. I can't get paid till you get paid, sir. So who's making money?
Baby, let me see your OnlyFans
Are you just
subscription.
upset that the money has been transferred?
On my say.
On my say. Because the valuations of OnlyFans going up. Like I think it's sad because people get frustrated at the fact that they do not benefit from their own consumption. And it's like,
that's good.
You do benefit from your consumption.
That's excellent.
You just quantify these things by monetary value.
That's excellent.
But actually, you benefit a lot.
Behind closed doors, huh? You're sick.
Sorry, my mind went to the worst of places. Your toes are shivering, shaking. Talk about you didn't benefit because she got the money at the end. Anyway, we ain't gonna talk too much about that.
It's your string vest. Oh, child. Anyway, let's move on because sorry, that image is, oh, heaven forgive me, that singlet, yeah. Why is singlet just one of those words that when you hear it, you
honest to God, it's not a vest, it's a singlet.
It's the holes
it's
in it.
A singlet.
Oh man. Oh, singlet.
That FaceTime lasted all of like 3 minutes.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
You know those people when they speak, you're just like, you're not speaking to me, you're speaking at me.
Yeah. Anyways, child, maybe I'll do a dating chronicles.
That would be so funny
when I get married.
Wow, yeah.
I'm gonna put myself out there.
No, people are crazy. No. Oh, that is too funny. But I kind of want to pivot the conversation a little bit to speaking more about the other side of the whole hyper independence, the modern woman, and this whole charge around like you're at risk of becoming lonely.
Yeah.
Now, I know that, again, the conversation is often around like, oh, if you don't stop being hyper independent, you're going to be lonely because, you know, all your friends are going to go and get married and you're not going to find a partner.
On your own.
You are out here on your own. And
eggs ain't cracked. House is empty. Lonely.
You got your cats. Got like 10 cats.
Got 25 cats and all you do is go to church.
You know, I'll have you know, some pet owners
on the weekend and you go play spades. You always at the family cookouts. Ain't bringing no cute fella over here.
Early.
Is you a homosexual?
That's how they be so.
Is you a homosexual? People are concerned. Is you a lesbian?
What? Oh, you like boys. You like
because I can take you to the pastor. I'll be praying for your soul.
Oh, stop it. No, why are all coaches the same like that, please?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, jeez.
What? You don't think my mum will be? Your friends are there getting married.
And it's so funny because there's so many assumptions that we make around even that, right? The fact that loneliness can be fixed by being within the context of a marriage, when some married women are amongst the most loneliest people that we know. And then there's also the other element of loneliness isn't just a feature of being single. You can be in a relationship and lonely, but equally you can be single and lonely, but not because you're not in a relationship, but more so because you actually don't have a community around you. So I guess I want to hear more around your thoughts on like this whole idea of loneliness, particularly for women, dealing with the reality of dealing with loneliness, and then the added pressure of having to augment or fix this loneliness by slapping a marriage band-aid on it.
Boom, bam.
Boom. We're not lonely.
Right. Loneliness is a very real thing. And I think increasingly more of us are dealing with it, right? I think it's not just a thing for young people. With an aging population, loads of people are facing feelings of loneliness, right? I think it's important for us to realize that even as much as we are more connected than ever, and you know, I can talk to somebody in Singapore right now if I wanted to, you can still feel, and you probably will still feel, very lonely if you do not invest in personal, real life, offline relationships, right? There is something about human contact, human interaction that we as humans need. We need to be, you know, the majority of us, we need to be touched. We need to be embraced. We need to laugh. We need to have human contact with people. There's a reason why if people want to drive people crazy, they will put them in isolation. They will put them in solitary confinement. They'll be like, no interaction with people for you as a punishment. And so I think it's important for us to take time to realize because we need to invest in relationships, it's easy to just think, romantic relationships. You know, somebody to live with, somebody to create with, somebody to, you know, be with all the time. And it's like, no, there are so many forms of relationships which you can invest in, relationships that are authentic and intimate, that need your attention and your effort. And I think this is what this whole it's a cornerstone of what this sisterhood is about, which is when we say invest in your relationships or heal to be better in your relationships or do any of all of these things. It's not just for a romantic partner. It's for every single person who you are in some kind of relationship with, who you are relational with. It's parents, it's siblings, it's children, yes, partners, it's also friends, it's also acquaintances, it's also it's all of the people who have to interact with you, right, who are trying to build some level of intimacy with you. I think the narrative around I did a video on my YouTube channel, right?
Go watch it.
Some definitely should. It was about being single for for 6 years, and somebody commented below like, you should live in like a shared community. You should go and live in like one of those communities where people like are codependent. I'm not trying to join a cult. I don't understand why our minds go to, you don't want to be in a relationship. You should go and be in one of those weird cults in a village somewhere. Not to say that's what they were suggesting, but it's almost like, you don't want to do this very normal thing. You must be crazy. You go over there.
The extreme.
You know, and it's like, wait a minute. Hold on. When you take the whole like hyper focus and idolatry sometimes of romantic relationships away, what you realize is I'm just describing that I want to take time to invest in the other plethora of relationships I'm surrounded by.
Right.
But it made me realize, wow, a lot of us don't even think about or really put any importance in developing those relationships, strengthening those relationships, to the point where if somebody says, I don't want to be in a romantic relationship, we assume they're saying they want to be alone.
Or that they're crazy.
For wanting to be alone. And it's like, no, I don't want to be alone. I am not alone. Do you get what I mean? Actually, I have very enriching relationships around me. It's just there's one specific type that I don't want to focus on right now. Do you get what I mean? And I think people, because we place so much value on that one, because it's so attached to our worthiness, it's so attached to our self-esteem, and it's so attached to society's approval of us, we just don't want to focus on the other ones, and we don't place any value on the other ones as if they cannot be as enriching and as fulfilling, right? Now, I do say all of that to say if you are fighting with loneliness, you don't just need to run into a relationship to solve it. Right? And actually running into a relationship is not going to solve all of your issues of loneliness. Like people can be in relationships and be lonely. But also many people, this is why relationships are relationships, right? Many people enter into relationships and are so fulfilled. However, I find that the people who are most fulfilled are the people who have balance. The people who have balance in terms of my fulfillment is not just coming from this one place.
Right.
I am fulfilled by so many other things as well. And I come into this relationship, or I get to engage in this relationship with all of that joy as well, because the fountain of my joy is not just this one place. I drink from many wells, you know. I think that's a beautiful place.
Just a minute. That was a good one. That was a really good one. Just a minute. Whoa, hello. Hello. Hi. That was good. Thank you. God bless you. Keep going.
Yeah. When you quote me, it's at CD Boateng. Just remember to add it to the bottom, because some of y'all be using my words and you don't be quoting.
Don't be quoted.
Don't be quoting the podcast. It's that to my sisterhood.
Oh my God.
Okay, if you go reference us to it.
If y'all go reference something from this podcast, we want to. Oh, look, even the waveform.
I'm just looking at them.
If y'all go. Because I know somebody listening and their eardrums just went, ah. If y'all want to be quoting us, lots of the sisters do it already, and we actually love to see it. Like, it's just beautiful to see that you guys be actually listening to this podcast and taking away gems. Credit us. We want to see it, man. It makes our day.
It really does.
It really makes our day.
It really does. But yeah, like, I say all that to say, relationships are beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to be in relationships. But when I say that, people will think I'm talking about romantic relationships. I think we need to start detaching our association with the word relationship with just romance, and realize that you are a relational being. You're in relationship with so many different people in your life, and if you are not, they're worth investing in. It's worth going to look for friends. It's worth going to speak to your family. It's worth investing in those things, right? I think people's fear though surrounding, like, oh, you're gonna be alone, you're gonna be lonely, you're gonna be da-da-da-da. I think it's a very it's an archaic thing, which is, if you leave your father's house, who's going to take care of you? Me. And like, people paint this image of like, oh, you know, all these women who get into their 40s and 50s who are single, they're all upset, they're all angry inside, they're all lonely, they're all bitter, they're all unhappy. And I actually think there is some wisdom to the fact that if you listen to people's experience, there can be some people say, I regret not doing this earlier or whatever. I regret being in this position. However, I think there is also the group of people, and I've heard certain testimonies of people who are like, I'm thriving. What people, you know, that stereotypical image that we painted, right? You're lonely, you're always going to places by yourself, your life is a bit mundane, you only have 10 cats. Actually, a lot of people who are here single are going on holidays every month. They're thriving. Their bills are paid, their mortgage is paid, they're drinking their water, they're in the best shape of their life, because they are investing in things which are healthy, right? Oftentimes people can be like, in order to get out of loneliness, you should settle. And I think a lot of people will realize that people don't necessarily choose to be alone. They are alone because the right thing hasn't come, right? And I think it's good to think about, once you become so comfortable being alone, per se, and this is not just in romantic relationships, this is also in friendships. When you become so comfortable, I bring myself peace. I know how to live a peaceful life. You don't settle for something that will come and disturb it just because something has come along, right? It's important for us as women to be reminded that whilst nothing is perfect, there are good things that we can wait for, right? And good things are worth waiting on.
Yeah.
And so kind of answer the original question, which I've forgotten, to be alone is not a bad thing. To be lonely is. And I think there are moments in our life when we need to be comfortable being alone, right? Being within our own company, forming these kind of independent ways of thinking and stuff like that. Those things are important. However, you need people. You need to invest in people. You need to learn to love people, and you also need to accept people's love. that can come from a multitude of places. I think we need to be more comfortable with the idea that I can be loved from several different places, and it doesn't make me less worthy just because it's not coming from this one specific place. And people just had, that's the train of thought that I was going on. This thought of like, if you leave your father's house, who's going to take care of you, right?
Yeah.
We don't live in that society anymore. You know, I'm not a spinster. Do you get what I mean? I'm not going to live on the streets.
I'm not.
Do you get what I mean? And also, there are other ways to be taken care of which don't require a romantic partner.
Precisely.
I don't understand why, like, we are so, like, we don't pressure women. Go to school. Why don't we just focus on, like, other things that are important, you know? Like fair healthcare, fair education, world hunger,
poverty,
sex trafficking.
You guys are pressed that I don't want to be with a man, right? Like, the math is not mathing. In fact, let's also focus on mass incarceration rates. We want to talk about those kind of issues.
Police brutality, underfunded public spaces. We need to talk about those things.
The cost of living is increasing. Exponentially.
Corruption.
But you guys are gonna sit up in here and watch my womb and my pocket.
War.
And my pocket.
Y'all don't even know there's wars outside, but you know when my period's coming.
Stop it. You guys don't know where we're at with Russia v Ukraine. But you out here in my womb.
And I get it. And like, I get it. Like, okay, people be worried. I get it.
But why though?
But let me
there's actually strangers that are more worried about these kind of things.
Exactly. Why don't you let me be worried with my intimate people, with people who are in intimate relationship with me, people who actually care about me, rather than using this as the topic for your next podcast, or, you know, the group chat conversation, or the family reunion conversation, or the things that you gossip with your friends with, right? That's not what this is. But yeah, sorry, I've rambled.
No, you have that.
Go ahead.
Phenomenon.
Wow, I'm even backed out of the whole frame. Yeah.
I'm screaming. Since there was so much to come, you had to back up a little bit. Back it up. But no, genuinely, I really do love that. I think in my mind, as you were speaking, it doesn't, when you are alone, it doesn't necessarily mean you are lonely. And equally, feeling lonely doesn't always necessitate you being alone. And I love what you were saying about how many of us are compelled into settling, because I think that's a lot of the pervasive message that we get when we think about hyper independence, the modern woman, the fear of loneliness. It's pressure to settle for that which is not meant for you because of these stereotypes, because of these irrational fears. And it's just like, I love what you said about your loneliness won't be fixed by your desperation and your settling. It won't be, because you will feel even more alone when you are with somebody romantically who actually sucks, doesn't get you, doesn't understand you. Like, just you're incompatible, probably have very problematic views, and there's nothing you can do because you're now stuck in this relationship with this person that you actually don't like.
And you feel stuck. And that's the narratives around loneliness, and people being made to feel scared of being alone keeps people stuck, right? It's not like you haven't got the choice to leave. It's more so now, instead of thinking about, I'm not happy, let me leave, or, you know, it's not, please don't, nobody's perfect, you guys have said that, you should stay and do the work. No, sometimes the work is not worth it.
Sometimes pack your load,
just it's time to exit, right? But people become scared to exit because they have been made to be scared. They have been made scared of being alone. Do you get what I mean? It's like, if I finally got somebody, if I now leave this, people are going to be looking at me like, so, you know, is it not better to be in a bad situation than to be in no situation?
Bruh. It's such an, and I think it's also, it sets you up for long-term failure
100%.
Because you find your self-worth is in all of these reinforcing doctrines that we have around womanhood.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do if, heaven forbid, something happens to your partner?
Yeah.
What will you do when your kids eventually grow up and leave the nest? And I think that's where it's really important to have like frank and honest relationships with other women as well that are older or who have more experience, so they can tell you the real deal about all of these fears around loneliness. Like, why are we taking our cues from strangers on the internet and our cues from men who actually don't know us and men who actually despise us. When we have people within our community, we have aunties, albeit some of the aunties be problematic. We do have aunties, we have mothers, we have sisters, we have friends who are in a wealth of different experiences that can add to our knowledge pool, so we don't have to find out through first-hand experience. Sometimes first-hand experience, baby, it ain't gotta be first-hand. Sometimes your goods are better second. Okay, sometimes it's better.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You know how stew is better the next day. Sometimes it's like that.
It is better to get. Sometimes the car boot sale be hitting. You find some gems. You find some gems
on discount
at the yard sale.
Yeah, and I was gonna. A thought came into my mind, which is that I think for a lot of us women, though, the reason why we end up in that situation of you're entering into something, but it's not necessarily good, and it's not for a long time. Is because we're pressured into getting married, but there's so much conversation about how to get married, how to get him to pop the question, how to be feminine enough, how to be but how much content is out there that's actually engaged with that is about how to have a successful marriage and how to also invest in your holistic well-being throughout the rest of your life. Because somebody popped the question, and it's because of that frustrating thing of our self-worth and our femininity being so validated by a man's acceptance and a man's proposal and all of these things. It's like, no, past the marriage, not even the past the marriage, past the day you get married, past the day you get engaged, there is a life that now needs to be built, right? How do you do that successfully? And that's why we settle, because it's like, I can get any man to pop the question, but is that the man you want to build a life with? And that's is that a man you can build a life with? Or is that a person you can build a business with or build a life with, right? Because like you said, so many seasons are going to come. You're going to be with this person in sickness and in health. You're going to be with this person when things are good financially and bad financially. You're going to be with this person when some of the people around you are no longer around, right? When your parents die, this is the person who's going to get you through grief. You know, exactly. This is the person that's going to get you through grief. This is also somebody, when your kids leave, you're stuck with that person. Do you get what I mean? So you've got to start thinking about what goes into not just initiating something and getting something started, but actually making something sustainable and making something successful. And a lot of us, it's like getting a new fancy car, and it can go 0 to 60 in like, I don't know, 3.2 points. I don't know about cars. I can't drive. Engineer. But like it's a Tesla. Do you get it? It can go really, really fast. But can it go far?
Some of y'all be good.
Yeah, exactly. You've done all that revving, you've done that pow fireworks, you've got 0 to 60 and that's it, capped.
Have you ever bought something that died like 10 seconds?
10 seconds, and it's like it did the job for right now. But marriage isn't a right now thing. Relationships are not a right now thing. It's a forever, or it's a for this season. And that requires longevity, right? And the longevity of something is based on its inward characteristics and not just its outward appearance and not just what you've heard and the glamorization that surrounds it. I think for us, the pressure can sometimes be, because you should be scared of loneliness, this is a quick fix to loneliness. But like you said, that's a long-term burden. That's a long-term problem. Are you with someone you actually want to carry this with, right?
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That is beautiful. And to wrap up, top tip or like one learning or just something that you can impart on the sisters who are dealing with these pressures, but also dealing with the realness of loneliness. What you got for us, ma'am?
Relationships, all of them, all types, are really beautiful things, right? Actively seek them out. I constantly think about this Bible scripture that is, if you want friends, you have to first prove yourself friendly.
I love that.
I think it's important to be there for people and to put yourself out there, right? It's to put yourself out there and say, I'm not just going to wait for the olive branch to be extended to me. I'm going to extend it, right? I'm going to invite somebody over to my house. I'm going to invite somebody out to coffee. I'm going to show up to that person's event. I'm going to send that person a kind message. You know, I'm going to put my foot out there. I'm going to put my hand out there and hope that it is reciprocated to me. We can often wait and we get so bogged down on, why is nothing coming to me? And it's like, well, you haven't Why don't you just stop holding your arms out and why don't you stop holding your arms wide open and just start reaching them out, and start bringing it, right? People aren't just gonna fall. Do you get what I mean? Like, my arms are open wide. I want to receive.
R&B
but
song.
sometimes it is very much R&B. But like, I'm actually hanging out of this entire frame. We hold open our arms like really wide to receive, when actually we need to be stretching them out to like take, to grab, to reach, to like actually initiate. Don't just receive, initiate. And I'm not telling you to shoot your shot, because I know some of y'all are thinking, so does that mean I gotta be sliding to these men's DMs and I gotta be telling people, popping the question, if you don't get up, stand up, stand up. Stand up, because listen, I'm a feminist, but if I see you put that knee on the ground, we got to
Did you even see? This might be problematic.
What?
But did you see the man that popped the question in Nando's?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're not going to go there today.
Yeah, I was thinking, this might be.
We can't go there today, unfortunately. She looks so embarrassed. She looks so embarrassed.
We've spoken about it before. Secondhand embarrassment. My heart. Anyways,
personally, for me, if you're gonna pop the question in Nando's, you can't get down on one knee. You can't make this a public spectacle.
I think that was what was.
You can't.
I would
make
prefer.
this.
You gotta do it at home.
And I don't know. And again, it's around this whole like the theater, and I'm not against. I love a good engagement. I love love.
Yeah.
I love a good wedding. I love it. I'm not a hater. Please hear me when I say this, right? But again, it's like all this pressure on this moment. It don't have to be that. It's got to be authentic. And I'm not saying it wasn't authentic. Like, obviously, you can't. Hopefully, you don't fake propose to somebody. However,
in the Nando's.
The Nando's thing, like, I think for me, the be all and end all of it is that's not what she wanted. It seemed like that's not what she wanted.
Yeah,
it's personally also not what I want. So if you do, I'm going to be upset. That's it. Take heed.
Yeah, I think it's that mismatch of expectations. It's like, sis looked like she wanted to
100%
swallowed by the
But you
ground.
never know. Like, it could, maybe that was the first Nando's they went on their date, their first date.
Fair.
And it's like, we came to this Nando's and that was the first time I asked you to be my
personally believe in
girlfriend.
speaking with your future spouse about these things, boyfriend and girl. Look here. Yeah? If you have plans to propose to me, it can be in Nando's. Okay? Wonderful.
Shout out to Nando's though.
But
like I said, you just can't get on one knee. Maybe whisper it across the table.
put it in the chicken.
No. Whisper it across the table. Because I will choke. The way I can scoff down a Nando's, I will choke. Now we have to wait 3 to 5 working days.
You know when you think that the diamond is what do you call it?
Like a bone or something.
Not even that. You'll think it's what do you call it? Opaz, but it's just the peri salt that's covering.
Oh my god, a sapphire diamond. No, that's the oil. Just wipe it. Just wipe it. That's that peri sauce. Wipe it.
Scandalous.
Anyways, happy nuptials.
Yeah,
happy nuptials to y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, personally, that's what I would say. Initiate. It's not about I'm gonna shoot my shot or anything like that. It's actually about putting yourself out there just for engagement, like a conversation.
Yeah.
Getting to know people as well. I think I was talking about this in a video I filmed today. We put so much pressure on, if I start talking to you, you have to be the one because I'm putting in all this energy. Listen, don't be so pompous, don't be so arrogant to think that everything has to work out for you because you've given it your effort. Listen, just be open to the fact that I'm going to put some effort into finding a friend, into finding a partner, into finding, more acquaintances and people I can chill with. Not everyone I meet is going to be absolutely amazing, but I'll actually get the opportunity to learn more about people. I will gain something from this no matter what, right? Then I'm going to move on. I'm going to learn something about myself. I'm going to learn something about the world. And then I'm going to move on if it doesn't fit with where I am right now. But it's nothing is lost from having a conversation. And just get over that initial like, oh, but I'm embarrassed, I'm shy. Do you want friends or not?
Yeah, I love that.
That's
I
it.
really love that.
Yeah. How about yourself? One tip for the
Goodness.
girls.
Damn, that's hard because that's a real good tip. And the follow up, I'm shy. I'm saying, but in the spirit of Courtney just
I know
said,
it's
have
gonna be
confidence.
amazing.
Shoot your
Is one of my
shot, all
cameras
that.
out because this wig is too small for me. So anyway, go on.
Can you
Sorry.
imagine? Hello.
Sorry, me, but it's a style. It's a
It's a
style. That's
just
how
say
the
it's a
girls
style.
be
There we
doing it
go.
now.
They be out here hanging their whole scalp out. That's okay. People didn't even notice. Dealing with loneliness and the pressures of hyper independence. I think you need to do some soul searching around the areas that you are weak in. I think that, especially on the hyper independence part, I think I'm still enthralled by the thought of living in that softness and understanding that there are areas in your life, especially if you're the kind of person whereby you might be similar to me insofar as you're dealing with that whole, how do I become a person that actually does reach out to other people and starts to depend on people?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily always have to be premised on, I have so much to add to them. I have to bring so much value. Sometimes it's about human connection, and in order to make the most authentic human connections, you need to be aware of your weaknesses as well as your strengths.
Yeah.
You might find yourself connecting, or obviously not trauma bonding, but like you might find yourself connecting over similar experiences, or you might find yourself connecting over similar responses to experiences. But preceding that, you actually do need to do the work of understanding and really sitting with the discomfort of, you're actually soft.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. And like also realizing that you are capable of feeling lonely as well, because some of us are in denial. We're like, I'm so hyper independent, I never feel lonely, I got so much stuff going on for me. Even in the midst of being a high performer, or someone that's a perfectionist, or somebody that's just got so much going for them, these can often be the loneliest people.
100%.
And sometimes you have to peg yourself down, at least emotionally and mentally, and realize actually, whilst everything outside is good, everything inside hurts.
That's good.
So yeah, my tip would be you really do need to do some soul searching and actually identify some of your weaknesses or some of the areas that you desire to be soft in, and then use that as a means to start facilitating those human connections with people.
That's really good, man. That is really good, man.
We some of us be big softies at heart, man.
We all need people, man, and it's about embracing that side of yourself. Like, I'm soft. I like soft things.
And
that's why it's good to then have boundaries. That knowledge of the fact that I am soft lets me know I must protect my heart in some way. And that's why I have boundaries, you know. Just start embracing that side of yourself, sis, man.
Please,
nice.
You are soft and you are worth taking care of.
Yeah.
Both by yourself, but also by other people.
You deserve to be helped.
You deserve to be loved.
100%.
Get that good loving. Anyways, my pretties, we must wrap the episode.
Yeah.
All right. We hope that you've had a fantastic listen.
We hope you liked it.
We hope you liked it.
Yeah.
Hope you had a good eggnog there.
What accent?
I don't know.
Damn.
But I was like, we're always what do you call it, doing up the Americans and the Africans. So it's like, Jody from up north or something like that. I do love the way they speak though. I used to
Some of it be nice.
I think it sounds really
Geordie
cool.
Shore.
It's giving me Geordie Shore. It's
Geordie
giving me
Shore.
up north. It's giving me that whole intonation.
Yeah.
I love it.
Nice.
I feel like I could be a Love Islander.
They really do be coming from the north.
They do. And they do talk like this. I'm just looking for a bit of a fit one.
Yeah.
Love it. He's a firecracker, he is. Love the way he's. Oh,
she's a worldie.
She's a star.
She's a worldie.
She's a worldie. She's a right one. Oh gosh, what I'd give now to be with it. Cheeky one that is.
I don't want you know. Stop
cheeky one that is. I know you're cheeky behind me.
Cheeky one that is. Oh my god, they really. Anyway, Love Island comes on real soon.
I'm looking for a real firecracker.
Yeah,
a stout blondie. Do me just good. Anyway.
It's the best.
Sisters, we have to do that accent way more. That's too funny. Sisters, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we are sending lots of love, light, and just community to you in these trials and tribulations and dealing with, the pressures of being an independent woman and figuring out dependency. Let us know what you have to think about independency, codependency, hyperdependency, insert something dependency, some kind of pendency, and loneliness. You can do this by commenting and dropping it like it's hot in the YouTube comments, or by adding us on our social media. You know where to find us: on the Instagrams, on the Twitters, on the TikToks.
Yep.
It's at To My Sisterhood. And of course, please come and follow us individually. Lovely lady to my left of me at CD Boateng on everything. And be sure to check out her YouTube. She's been pumping out the vlogs. Did somebody say the vlogs? We be pumping out the vlogs. She's like, you were like, I know she ain't gonna start.
I was about to say, it sounds like you're gearing yourself up. You're hyping yourself up. And you're gaining momentum with that. I need to nip in the bud. I heard it the third time. I said, no.
You heard the bass.
You started to add a bit of a melody as well.
And the bop as well. She was
In
like,
it with the vlog. Stop that. Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
So please follow at CD Boateng and at Renee Kafuki.
You can also join the mailing list. She doesn't do that there. I can tell you that for free. You can also join the mailing list on tomysisters.com. Make sure that you check out the description here on YouTube for all of those links, but also they will be in the show notes. And definitely leave a comment here on YouTube, but come and say hi to us for sure on the social media pages. As you heard, June Challenge is going on, so definitely participate. Grab yourself some people to help and do good things for this month. Okay, we will talk to you very soon. We hope you have an amazing week. Thank you for listening to us. Rate us 5 stars, 4 stars, 4 or 5 stars essentially. You already know the drill. 3 stars, hello at tomysisters.com. Don't press that button without emailing us first. Okay, we'll try to improve. We're trying. All right, committed to evolution.
I love it when you say that.
But why would you come on the podcast? I said rate us 5 stars. You're gonna give us 3 stars and talk about I'm just being honest. Don't be honest publicly.
Bring us round the corner.
Whisper in my ear.
Whisper in my ear hole.
So we putting my business out there.
That's what I'm saying.
It's that person that gave us like 2 stars in the first, that traumatized me. I said, people are out here. People are out here.
You guys are young.
Yeah.
I know.
Stop it. But yeah, you did, honestly, 4 5 stars. We are open to feedback in our inboxes. So, but we'll talk to you next week. As always, keep glowing and growing. Ciao. Mwah.